Uh,
Welcome into the
there you
Celtics
go.
Talk Weekly Post Game Show, everybody. I'm your host, Justin Lowe, alongside with me, my good friend and co-host, Nick Franco. Franco, listen, the Celtics tonight defeat the Charlotte Hornets 118-103 in regulation, capping off a 4-2 road trip. Big win for the Celtics tonight. Jayson Tatum with 25, Sam Hauser with 25. On a night where you don't have Jaylen Brown, Jaden Springer to provide you that depth. How did the Celtics get it done tonight? What were your initial thoughts, Franco, on what you just saw tonight?
It's that game in Charlotte on NBA League Pass that Jason Tatum always was talking about to those kids.
Right.
He was able to go out and give a great performance tonight, was able to take over the game. This was mainly a Jason Tatum offensive-centric performance tonight from the team, which is good to see on nights like this if you are going to be a MVP debate player like he has been trying to prove for the past few seasons. You need to have nights like these where you go out and put the team on your back and carry them to a victory. But all around, a great win for the team. I felt like Charlotte was able to hold their own throughout the first half, which you usually can expect from teams of a lower standard or lower record to usually put up more of a fight because the games mean more to them. And the just sheer talent of the Boston Celtics were able to overwill those efforts. Miles Bridges, he's been the model of consistency other than the suspensions that he's dealt with in the off-court uh, situations he's been through. But you look at a game like this, this is something that has been harped on, that these games are the ones that count the most, and obviously the team has first place locked up, and I wanted to see more of a rotation performance, and we got to see that tonight from
Yeah.
Sam Hauser, so we'll be able to get more into that, but overall a great win heading into a strong final home stretch other than going to Milwaukee one time.
Right.
But great way to close off a pretty shaky road trip. But actually, it was a good road trip other than that shaky stop in Atlanta.
Yeah, that stop in Atlanta, weird stretch of the season where you played 2 games in 4 nights in the same city. So that was definitely weird as we're trying to get Ian and Angelo in here. I will mention this, Franco. You wanted a rotation game tonight. That's exactly what you got from the Celtics. Celtics bench tonight scored 37 points to Charlotte's 19 points. So you definitely got that rotation game as we bring my good friend Ian in. Ian, the Celtics winning their second straight game after dropping 2 straight. They finished a road trip 4-2. Obviously, we knew that the Celtics were better than the Charlotte Hornets. It was a Monday night on League Pass, but the Celtics got the job done, Ian. It's all smiles here. It's not like the Atlanta games.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you want to see. That's what this is what you wanted to see. No Jaylen Brown tonight. You want to see Tatum. You just want to see execution.
Right.
We're late into the season here. The Celtics really don't have a whole lot left to play for, especially against a team like the Hornets.
Right.
Unless they want to get their get back from that one game back in November. But it's kind of crazy to think. It actually is kind of crazy to think that they haven't played the Hornets since November.
I know.
But
we
anyway,
played the Pacers 5 times.
Exactly. We played the Pacers 5 times. We've played all these teams, and this is only the second time.
Did Grant not get his return home?
No, he didn't. Oh wait, no,
not yet. No,
is he going to get one this season?
Yes, next week. Our second to last game, we play the.
So the Grant Williams tribute video will come out.
Yeah.
When the Celtics play the Hornets.
Tears will be flowing.
Yes.
Anyway,
Grant had a great game
just
tonight.
What you want to see. I was happy with Grant. Sam Hauser caught fire at the end of the fourth quarter. I was really happy. That Kristaps Porzingis was actually used as like a 7'3" big man tonight.
Yeah, so you know what? I was going to
That's
pivot into
not.
the player of the game, but I do want to talk about Kristaps Porzingis because I was watching this game and I instantly really like what I saw. You know, you saw a couple threes getting taken early on, but like let's face it, Kristaps Porzingis, you know, upper 30% free throw shooter. I think 37, 38% 3-point shooter. When you're open, let it fly, I guess. But we know that he's at his best when he's on that. I feel like that mid to high post, that free throw line area is where I love Kristaps Porzingis. He can either back up, post up, or he can dish it out. I think the opportunities are endless when Kristaps Porzingis is in that high post. But Franco, we saw Kristaps Porzingis be utilized exactly how we wanted him to be utilized all season long. Not that he really hasn't been put there, but at least as of late, it feels like Kristaps is hanging around that 3-point line too much. That wasn't the case so tonight, though, Franco.
I mean, he was put onto this roster to be the center. That
Right.
is his designated role. That's what happens when you play Jason Tatum at the 4 slot, rather than the 3. And Jason Tatum also needs to recognize that as well, and that will be seen in his game that starts getting more utilized in the paint and becomes more of a presence on the defensive end against more physical players. But like we said, that's exactly what Kristaps is going to be used for. He's not the type of player who's big enough. He's not a strong 7'3". He's got a little bit of wire rush to him. We saw that Grant Williams was able. We know that Grant Williams is a solid base body and will hold his own against bigger players like that. But the finesse that he has is unmatched and is almost unguardable. And
Right.
even if the player that is guarding him has that little bit of weight to him and has that advantage, not really a push around player, and it isn't a mismatch, he can still out finesse almost 90% of the centers in the league right now.
Right. Kristaps Porzingis tonight, a very, very strong game, 20 points. We could throw that graphic back up there. We can let it rip. We're talking about KP. KP, 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Very efficient from the field tonight, 6 of 10, 1 of 3. Now, listen, I've brought this up before. When Kristaps Porzingis is shooting sub 5 3-pointers a game, when he's keeping that 3-point attempts rate down, the Celtics are just at their best, and Kristaps Porzingis is at his best. He's just a terrific. He is a great 3-point shooter, but he's not 7'3" for no reason. We talk about Jayson Tatum when he finds out he's 6'10" and he's 225 pounds. You know, he can get to the hoop. Same case for Kristaps Porzingis, but Ian, what did you like from Kristaps Porzingis tonight? Because I feel like we've been talking about KP, how he needs to be playing like this because he's just shooting so many threes. But I don't know if it's just kind of a thing where he's just getting all these great looks from outside, and he just doesn't go inside. But it feels like there were some designated plays tonight towards Kristaps Porzingis, especially out of a timeout where they hit KP in the post.
Yeah, I really liked his post game tonight. He just kept finding the matchup. Like, It felt like every other play, Trey Mann, it sucks to be him because he was stuck on Porzingis around the free throw line. And at least 90% of the time when Porzingis is going to shoot, when he's shooting over somebody on that free throw line, it's going to go in. So he was absolutely spectacular from the post area. I really like the fact he only took 3 threes in this game. Like you said, we've been, it's been kind of interesting that he's been taking so many threes as of recent. But the fact that he was able to go in there, and honestly, I felt like he was more of a facilitator in this game, at least around in the first half. If you remember in the first quarter, he had a couple of nice passes. I remember the high-low pass to Horford for the dunk. That was probably my favorite one of the night. But overall, I think KP just had a great night, and, this is what we want to see from him. He's getting to work on the post. He's finding the mismatch and he's going up with it. And most of the time it's either going to be a basket or he's going to get free throws out of it.
Right. And I think with him going into, I think with KP, it's really finding him that position down low. It's getting him involved in the offense because we know that I think the perfect position for him is right in the dead center for the team. It's right at the free throw line. It's creating those plays, being able to step in, and honestly, he can give us 20 points a night if we need him to. And leading into that, we'll be going into the player of the game in a little bit. I don't know where Justin just disappeared to.
Uh-oh.
So,
That was the player of the game was KP, but
Rob did just text me. He said that our player of the game will be Jayson Tatum.
No.
Yep. The player of the game will be
player of the
Sam
game.
Hauser.
Player of the game is Sam Hauser. Sam Hauser had an unbelievable night. 9 of 13 from the field, 7 of 11 from 3-point range. He had 25 points, guys. It feels like this was just an explosion in the second half, where Sam Hauser didn't really play that much in the first half, and then all of a sudden comes out in the second half and absolutely just erupts. We talked about him in that Washington game before he went down. And then in his return game, he had a huge game. And then tonight, guys, 7 of 11. And I feel like if he played a lot more in the first half, probably could have broken that record. Probably would have been something a little close. But terrific night from Sam Hauser. And it's funny because, you know, we do talk about his shooting a lot because he shoots over 90% of his shots from behind the three-point arc. But the development of Sam Hauser has just been a really fun thing to watch because you guys know me in my summer league. He was a summer league standout. He went undrafted, stood out in the summer league. Celtics decided to sign him on a two-way deal. Then some roster spots opened up later that year, that title run. He hopped onto one of those and then signed a 3-year extension after the finals. So for Sam Hauser to virtually come in undrafted and just be on that summer league team, and now he's one of the league's best shooters off the bench. He's just absolutely terrific. He's been able to. I saw a couple drop steps, like a couple teardroppers last game. Like he's getting into
put back tonight.
Yeah, a little putback
tonight.
A little
bag to him.
He's getting.
You know what's crazy though? When I was looking up college videos for NCAA videos making about the Celtics, I was watching Sam Hauser college highlights. If you look at any Sam Hauser college highlight, most of them are not 3-pointers. He has a bag. He just chooses not to show it. Like, look at any of his highlights when he was at Virginia. He was attacking the paint, and he has a crazy mid-range game, but he doesn't have to show it because he's on the Celtics, and all he has to do is shoot threes. But he's got a bag.
I mean, if he brings out a little dribble hesitation move, we might have to call him some white chocolate soon.
Yeah.
We might have to bring out
I think the Celtics just stripped everyone on their bench of their main core talent. I mean, look at Luke Cornett. He went from being a sharpshooter to now being a glass cleaner. And
yeah.
I wonder what is going into that development and what they're seeing in these players, but obviously they're seeing something and it's working out extremely well for them.
You know, it's funny because Sam Hauser is like the perfect guy that like would torch us if he was on the Miami Heat. Like,
oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, he's like a perfect Niang type player.
Well, you remember? I don't know if you remember. The Heat were about to sign Sam Hauser before the Celtics signed him.
They were about to sign Sam Hauser, but Sam Hauser has been terrific, consistently consistent. He started the year off on a little shaky note. I remember he had a really rough preseason. It was like, oh man, like, you know, not to overreact here because it is a preseason. We'd rather him miss these shots now than not, but he had a very shaky start to the year. So for him to be able to kind of come in and be in that stay ready group, never know when his number is going to be called this year, especially later and later as the season's gone on, he's seen himself more minutes in this rotation. There were times where he had healthy scratches, coaches' decisions, do not plays. Now it's almost like he's a must play and somebody who's going to come up big for the Celtics team in the playoffs. So props to Sam Hauser tonight. When his number was called, he was ready, got some great looks. I think he's really good at creating his own looks as well. We talk about all these off-ball screens and how the Celtics offense moves really well. I also think Sam Hauser creates a lot of those shots himself, which makes him a terrific shooter. And when he came in, into the league and when I was covering the summer league, that's something I noticed about Sam Hauser, how not only well did he shoot, but how well he can create his own shot. And that goes into being a truly historic shooter. So Sam Hauser, he's on pace, man. Like I really think Sam Hauser has made a name for himself here in Boston. He certainly earned that extension and getting these shots, getting these opportunities, and he's knocking them down. Just need to see it in the playoffs. Just like we're talking about all the other 15 players, we need to see it come playoffs. Same thing with Sam Hauser, man. We need to see him knock some shots down come playoff time, because I feel like with Hauser, we've seen Tatum, we've seen Brown in the playoffs, and guys like Al Horford in the playoffs. They're going to have their opportunity. We haven't really seen much of Sam Hauser in the postseason. His opportunity hasn't always been there, right? So this year is a really good chance for Sam Hauser to kind of crack that rotation and begin to play serious minutes in the postseason. And that's going to be big. That's going to be big. But Sam Hauser is your player of the game tonight with 25, 5, and 7. Guys, listen, I want to quickly kind of talk about Joe Mazzulla in this, because last episode was, I believe, before the Pelicans episode, we were talking about Joe Mazzulla in the Hawks series, that little mini 2-game series where, you guys know me, I don't knock Joe Mazzulla too much, but Mazzulla had a rough couple of games in Atlanta, really, really bad couple of games in Atlanta. But tonight, I feel like Joe, I got to give credit to Joe, because usually when the Celtics, we talk about a lot in the podcast, usually when the Celtics are doing things good, we tend to strive away from them. It's almost like, why would you fix it if it's not broke? Like tonight, Jayson Tatum caught fire in that third quarter. He was driving the basketball, shooting the basketball. Ball stayed in Jayson Tatum's hands. The game was running through Jayson Tatum, right? I think Kristaps Porzingis in the post was terrific tonight, and he found himself in the post consistently tonight. Maybe that is just the players kind of seeking their own matchup, but I got to give it to Joe. I definitely saw a couple after timeout plays specifically drawn up for Kristaps Porzingis. So to have a game like this for Joe Mazzulla, I know it's against the Hornets. I know it's in a game where the Celtics already locked up the 1 seed, Franco, but it's really good to see everybody on the same page, especially at this point in the season.
I mean, from what we've been seeing from Joe, he needs as many repetitions as he possibly can.
Correct.
Last year, he obviously came into a short notice situation, and he's had that full off season, and we're still seeing him develop as a player. I almost look at him as a project coach.
Yeah.
If
can you be a project coach in a year that you're trying to win a title?
I mean,
I don't know, I guess.
What I like about him as a project coach for this year is he's got a great mindset for this season. He obviously knows the situation that he is placed into is a high stakes mannered situation, and I really like what he has around him. If there is a situation where you're going to see a rookie coach or a rookie or a second year coach being in a title contending situation, you want it with a 5-person all-star roster. You want it to be with a great assistant coaching staff with, I think, 3 possible head coaches in the near future. And then you have Lee and you have Van Gunny and Cassell. And I think those are all going to be great people to have in your ear, especially having Brad Stevens be the one who is guiding you through this process. And I think that in due time, he will be a very respectable coach in Boston, and we'll start seeing him make his own path into becoming that solidified head coach.
I just want to see Mazzulla kind of talk about the players making that next step. I really want to see Mazzulla make that next step.
Right.
I just here's the thing, because I can't doubt the coach. I'm trying not to be a fan. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to. I can't really doubt the coach. Can't really talk bad on the coach, because especially, if we win the title and I don't want to be that guy, but it's just I need to see Joe Mazzulla attack the game just as much as the players. And when I say that, I go back to what I was just talking about a little bit earlier when I was saying when something's working, you have to continue to go to that, right? And then when things aren't working, you kind of have to sit back and say, okay, this isn't working. It hasn't worked in a while. Why am I doing it? Or, like, for instance, Tatum shot at the end of quarters, at the end of games. I get it. Jayson Tatum, MVP caliber player, best player on the team. I understand. I can get behind that. But there's nights where Tatum is shooting 9 of 29 and Jaylen Brown or Derek White has 7 made threes on 12 attempts, and you're kicking it and you're putting it to Jayson Tatum. You're putting it in the hands of Jayson Tatum to sit there. The other night in Atlanta, I watched Jayson Tatum dribble the ball for 23 out of 24 seconds before just forcing up a jump shot. And Joe Mazzulla took a timeout before that. You're telling me in the 3-minute TV timeout, that's what Joe Mazzulla drew up? That's what Joe Mazzulla drew up, was an ISO Jayson Tatum sitting there the entire shot clock just to force up a contested fadeaway? There's no way you're going to win a title with those types of decisions and those types of things. And maybe the players have to take their game, take the game within their own hands. Joe Mazzulla is the head coach. Joe Mazzulla controls that. I wasn't on the Atlanta Post Game show, so that's kind of why I'm expressing my opinion on that. And I'm, saying Joe Mazzulla had a great night, but I need to see the consistency out of Joe Mazzulla, just like we need to see the consistency of the players. When you're a championship team, you have championship aspirations, and you're a 59-win team. It's obviously you're not perfect, but at the same time, you have expectations for everybody, not just the players. And when you have a really good coaching staff like the Celtics coaching staff, like we have with the Celtics coaching staff, I feel like we have to hold them to even more higher standards, right? Those guys are the guys kind of telling the players what to do. So just a solid game here from Joe Mazzulla. Nice bounce back game for Joe Mazzulla. But guys, before we wrap up about tonight's game, I do want to touch on the Thunder game before we head out of here. But Monday night on League Pass, Jayson Tatum. Sorry, Rob, I had to take the spotlight there, but Monday night on League Pass, Jayson Tatum, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 of 10 from distance, had some great looks, just didn't knock them down, 9 of 19 from the field. Jayson Tatum was on one tonight, guys, specifically in that third quarter. What did we like? We'll start with you, Franco. What did we like from Jayson Tatum? He kind of had that determination. I feel like if the game wasn't such a blowout towards the end of the game, we could have seen a 50-piece from Jayson Tatum tonight.
Right. I think he was doing what he needs to do with this roster. It's him being the lead scorer, him taking the most shots for the team. It's him finding that efficiency. When he doesn't have that efficiency, that's when he has the other options to dish it out to. But as he knows, and as Joe Mazzulla has made it clear to him that this is his team, obviously he should know when to tighten up on the reins or let loose on them a little bit more. When, let's say, he's having an off night, okay, I can take a couple less shots and dish out more assists. And then on nights that the team is struggling, being like, okay, I need to put this team on my back and drop a 50-point performance. Right. But tonight was just said, I hate to say it, but like this, it's one of those games that you just need to hold to a standard of just getting everyone in the flow of things. This game is more for the rotation players to get acclimated. That's why we'll see on nights against Charlotte, we'll probably see against the Portland Trailblazers later on this week. We'll see nights that Peyton Pritchard will go off, or Hauser will have these nights that he can have 20 points. And
force feed.
Yeah, it's force feeding, and it's also just making sure that they are ready for their moment when the time comes.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, I kind of expected Jayson Tatum to low-key kind of have a little bit of a better night, honestly. It felt like you started shooting threes a lot early on, but overall, I think he still had a great game. I still think he played really well. And like you said, this really wasn't a game. I hate to say it, like it's not really about him in this game. It's more about everybody else kind of
Right.
finding a rhythm and
Exactly.
being able to find a rhythm. But like if the moment called for it, where like, you know, say the Hornets shooting just like kept going insane, like yeah, maybe you would then need to see Tatum go off more. But in this game, I think he played fine for, you know, this kind of game. For a Monday night game on League Pass, I think he did great. So
I think what impressed me about Tatum was how he, you know, like you said, Ian, he started the game off not shooting well at all. That's kind of where those shooting numbers don't look all that great. He had a really solid second half for the time he played, not so much the first half. But the game really kind of the what do I want to say? The momentum, the game really didn't start to turn into the Celtics' favor until when Jayson Tatum kind of put his head down and got to the basket in a few consecutive drives, converted on a couple and ones, got to the hoop, a couple jams tonight, couple
yeah, that one jam off Brandon Miller was crazy.
Oh my goodness! So, you know, when we get that type of Jayson Tatum, Celtics are going to win by 15 every time, whether that's the Hornets or whether that's, you know, the Bucks. You know, but something that, you know, you talked to, and Franco, you talked about this tonight specifically, talking about the rotation guys. It's funny, like the Celtics are so deep. Nobody really talks about how deep this Celtics team is. But it's like, okay, you don't have Jaylen Brown tonight. Guess what? Derek White's going to step up, give you 19 and 5. You don't have, I mean, Drew Holiday played. He had a horrendous shooting night. You have Sam Hauser giving you 7 made threes and 25 points. Yes, it is the Charlotte Hornets. Yes, you already have locked up the first seed, Franco, but you've mentioned it, how big of a night this was for the bench guys. How big is it, especially just a couple of weeks before the postseason, for these guys like Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard, Luke Cornett?
Imagine it's the third quarter of round 1, game 5, or game 6, it would have to be, in TD Garden. And Sam Hauser just sprays in 3 threes in a row in front of a TD Garden crowd to bring the Celtics back within the game. It's going, his ability to light up a scoreboard from 3, and once he's got the hot hand, not let go of it.
Right.
That during playoffs, that's just going to be a flamethrower. And other teams, casuals, people watching the Celtics for the first time this season on TNT just because it's not their team, are going to be like, who the hell is this guy? And he just knocks down 4 or 5 from the floor, and the only shots that he takes are three-pointers. And
Right.
what we're not going to see is not going to see him in for allotted amount of times. Same thing with Pritchard. We're not going to see them getting 25 minutes a night like they are now, but those quick little spurts, if they can get those hot little stretches in their time segments and in their rotations throughout the game, it's going to make the Celtics so much more dominant, because as long as 4 of the 5 players on the starting rotation are living up to it, and there's someone to fill in and keep the pick up where they finished off when they're put back on the bench to rest.
Right.
For real. Honestly, I'm excited because if Sam Hauser's shooting actually does go off in the playoffs, like we could be having some generational like memories on this playoff run. Could you imagine like Sam Hauser has a game like he did against Washington, against like the Miami Heat in the first round, and we just like Caleb Martin them with Sam Hauser? Like that would be absolutely generational, and I will be there for it.
You are my sunshine, Sam Hauser post would go nuts.
We're gonna get that on the soundboard.
Oh my god!
That these types of games build confidence, you know. And I talk about building good habits and stuff like that. Like it's not necessarily about, you know, winning games at this point in the season. It's about building good habits and building it consistently, being consistent right? Being consistently consistent. And Sam Hauser has been just that. Peyton Pritchard has been tremendous as well. His reads are getting so good. He knows where guys like Luke Cornett, Kristaps Porzingis are at the rim at all times, throwing lobs and making just all the right plays. Peyton Pritchard has turned into this not that he has never been a high IQ player. He really has, but you could definitely tell how comfortable and how the game's really slowed down for Peyton Pritchard, really being able to take control. It's like even Rob, not calling Rob out at all, but like Rob has never been the biggest Peyton Pritchard guy. And I mean, I don't blame him. Like I wasn't the biggest Peyton Pritchard guy either before, but it's like now, like we're starting to see like, okay, like if Peyton Pritchard can consistently play like this, now we're talking, right? So that's big. When the Celtics rotation can play like this on a consistent basis, it's going to be huge for Boston, especially in a 7-game series when your potential first round opponent is going to be either Philly or Miami. You definitely need these types of games from guys like Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. But enough on this game, because we don't need no more Monday nights in Charlotte on League Pass. We're on to Oklahoma City. The Oklahoma City Thunder tied for the first seed out west. I am the biggest Oklahoma City Thunder fan that's not an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. I've been rooting for these guys for the past few years. Wicked happy. I was super excited for them last year when they made the play-in tournament, just fell short of that 8th seed. But this year, all of a sudden, they're the first seed out west. They're smacking teams left and right. And the thing is they're going to have 2 lottery draft picks. They're a first-seeded team who are about to have 2 lottery picks who are a legit contender out west. Here's the thing. I understand that how young they are. Their head coach, Mark Dagnall, Leominster, Massachusetts native. He's young. Sam Presti, their GM, also Massachusetts native, is young. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is young, but these guys are hungry. And I'm really excited for this matchup, Franco, on Wednesday night, because it's been a while since the Celtics and Thunder have had a really, really, really exciting game. I feel like last year, earlier in the season, I was on my cruise, so I didn't really watch that game to the fullest. I know it was a lot more interesting than the score looked, but this Celtics and Thunder game coming up Wednesday night is going to be one hell of a game on ESPN.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
especially when it comes to a younger team like this. Throughout the beginning of the season, we were preaching how afraid we were, or the games that we were dreading were the games that were against the Oklahoma City Thunders of the world, the Indiana Pacers of the world, the Orlando Magic of the world.
Right.
So that was the Celtics kryptonite going through the first half of the season before the All-Star break. It's going to be very interesting to see what has changed since then and their approach to going against such a younger team that has so much depth. It's going to be huge for the starters to have a big game. I'm looking at the schedule right now. I would say there's 4 more games that the Celtics need to go out with full rotations, being able to put on a fighting effort. We have Oklahoma, we got Sacramento right after that, lightens up with Portland. Then we travel down to Milwaukee. You obviously want to give them your all, and then you obviously want to give New York their all, and then we could put in the main Celtics for the Charlotte and Washington games to finish off the season.
Right. I mean, this Thunder team is going to be excited, Ian. I remember talking about it earlier in the offseason when we gave our offseason predictions. You and I mentioned Mark Dagnall potentially being coach of the year. It's looking like that right now. I mean, it maybe that was a little biased, at least on my part, but it's looking like it.
I mean, like, just thinking about it, even in the beginning of the year, like, this Thunder team had Chet Holmgren coming back after he didn't play the rookie year. Still had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who has been absolutely incredible this season. You know, Jalen Williams, who is really underrated and could potentially be a huge piece to this Thunder core moving forward. And honestly, they just have a whole bunch of young guys that just know how to play the game. And Mark Dagnall has been absolutely incredible coaching them. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I am very excited for this game coming up on Wednesday. I think it should be a game the Celtics take seriously. Like, that last game against OKC was insanely fun. And honestly, if we can have another game like that, and hopefully the Celtics winning this time, but I'm excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to watch it. I like watching the Thunder play. They're just a fun team to watch.
They are fun.
I'm excited to see what they do this offseason because they just can't sit with that.
They have to make a trade.
They have
cannot
to.
be.
They are
cannot.
physically
Sam
going to
Presti-
be forced to make a
Sam
trade.
Presti cannot sit back and pull a Danny Ainge and not trade the first round picks to get a superstar. They have to get a superstar center. And low key, hear me out on this. It's probably not going to happen. Joel Embiid. Think about it. They have the picks to pull off a Joel Embiid trade. Now, I don't think the 76ers would trade Joel Embiid, but I'm just saying they got the picks and the assets if they really wanted to.
They don't want to go younger. They just got rid of Jaden Springer, man.
Yeah, true. I mean, I'm just saying if we have to restart the process, I mean, trading Joel Embiid to OKC for all those picks wouldn't be a bad idea. I'm just saying. I don't think it's going to happen, but it could happen.
Here's the thing of why I respect the Thunder so much. It's because they did rebuilding right, where they didn't. How do I say it? They didn't like go out and get all these superstars and try to make this super team. Like, I get it. Like the whole, Paul George, Russell Westbrook and Carmelo thing, that just didn't work. I thought what worked was when they realized it wasn't going to work and they were smart enough to say, you know what? We got to rip the Band-Aid off. We just got to do it. We just have to blow it up and we have to rebuild. The year they went to the bubble, which was 2019-2020, they made the playoffs and they lost to Houston in 7. That was kind of the start of, which was the year before Dagnall. That was like the start of like, oh, something's brewing in OKC. That was Lou Dort and they had just gotten rid of Paul George, so Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was fairly new there, and Chris Paul. I think Dennis Schroeder was on that team as well. Like
that was
Chris
a wild,
Paul was
that was a wild lineup.
It was a wild lineup.
That was a fever dream of an NBA season.
It was, but like that, I feel like that them making that decision to rip the Band-Aid off and just completely rebuild this team, go after, trade Paul George, who is a superstar, and go out and take your chance on the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out of Los Angeles and build up these draft picks and really work them out. Their only really failure was Pokusevski, who we played tonight. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, that was an effort thing. Pokusevski showed no effort in Oklahoma City. Found himself out of the rotation, did nothing to get himself back in the rotation. Nobody wanted to get him at the trade deadline, so they had to cut him. And that's exactly what happened. That's just exactly what happened. But then they go out and get Gordon Hayward, where Gordon Hayward might not be what he was 6-7 years ago, right? But he's a veteran who has experience and he can still produce. And he could do a lot more than just shoot threes, which is why I think it was a great idea getting rid of Bertans. He was just sitting at the end of the bench, and you mentioned it earlier, Franco, and that horrendous contract that Washington gave him. I don't know what the Wizards were thinking, or whoever it was. I don't know if it was them or Dallas.
He's the highest paid Charlotte Hornet.
Right.
Hey, that is the second leading Latvian scorer in NBA history, Davis Bertans.
Yeah, tough.
We may have to show a little more respect.
But it's like that's why I respect OKC so much, because they rebuilt correctly. They went after all these draft picks and they homegrown these players and they're developing into such a must-see TV team. I definitely watch them at least every night I can on League Pass. They had a great game the other night against, I think it was New York. Shai Gilgeous had that game winner in the corner. But credit to the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's crazy how they're one of the youngest teams in the NBA, yet one of the best teams in the NBA. And we're about to get all that and more Wednesday night. hopefully they make it in because we're supposed to get some stupid snowstorm in April here. But that's going to be it for tonight, guys. The Celtics defeat the Hornets 118-103 in regulation for their second straight win that cap off a 4-2 road trip. They improved to 59-16 on the regular season. If they do win on Wednesday, they clinch the number one seed in the NBA. So hopefully we get to see that. So we will see everybody Wednesday night for
Shout out
Celtics and
Caitlin
Thunder.
Clark for dropping 41 on LSU
Caitlin
today.
Clark. Second
41 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists, 9 threes by Caitlin Clark tonight against LSU.
Let's go. Big dubs. Until then, we will see you Wednesday.